We are also people. And it is inherently human to have temporal disappointment sometime. And therefore, in terms of you've asked the relationship between the president and the former deputy president, the position I hold is that I respect every leader. And I could have things I need to talk about. I could have reservations on decisions made, but I don't think it has been within my role to talk about those things, especially in public. Wabunge walisema mambo bugeni last week. Nitasema nini? Nitasema, uniruhusu niseme kwa kimombo. As I said before, politics is up and downs. And politics is mutually exclusive, because the things we chase for are the same. So sometimes, for a position to be created, one person has to forgo the years. And therefore, it's always a chase. Please get your sorry, Areto. You want to box me in a corner. I'll answer you that in camera.
ETV Africa News at this hour.
Dubi from Nation, you've asked about the comments that were made in Parliament last week. I would just implore upon everyone, because I'm not the first person to hold this position, respectively so. You can do an analysis for the past many years that this position has existed, and then try to see and compare for yourself, because many times it's not good to talk about yourself, because you are likely to be subjective. To be objective, the data is out there, just check. However, on the same, every politician have their own brand of politics. Myself, I do not answer evil with evil. Neither do I answer insults with insults. Basically, we are all different. And I don't want to purport to know better what I am not. And therefore, I am okay as a leader. You cannot continue being provoked and then you dance to the tune. And I also want to say that anger and hatred is too heavy a burden for any leader to carry. And you only carry anger and those kind of other negative emotions to the advantage of distractors. So it is important then, in politics, you draw your line. You know, this is the kind of politics I want to play. Draw that line, whatever it is, follow through. Secondly, in terms of Wamalwa West TV, on why you've asked me a very difficult question on why I was repressed. I also don't know. And I am saying it in good faith. I didn't come here to accuse anyone today, or I only came to set the record straight. No one in the leadership of our coalition, from whichever position, has ever called me in regards to the position, in regards to what I need to do better, in regards to what I need to change, in regards to things that needed to be done in a different manner. It's very good for me to put it into record, because, as I said, I was holding this position knowing that I was serving Kenyans, so I am also answerable. And in sincerity say, there is no one who has ever called me, decision makers of our coalition, to say anything around this. I read in newspapers about myself the same way you do. And in terms of this position, that's what I mean. And that's the truth. Moses of Star. You know, Moses is a political journalist. I know him. So he's asking me that I need to say something around politics. Moses, I have your number and you have mine. And I want to assure you that when I need to talk politics, I'll call you. And I'm saying it respectfully. I only think that even this is also very important. And situko tu hapa Kenya. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, and Moses is still around. I know your job is not threatened in any way, so we are still in Star. So I'll be glad to also talk about that at the fullness of time. The other thing about Miriam, sorry, Millicent. Millicent KBC. There are many things she asked about. Yes, I talked about one thing we did. What about the many others that are challenges that remains to be done? Of course, there are many. There are many things that we are a work in progress for us as a country. And referencing to the position I was serving, the issue of public debt is a major challenge. The issue of stored projects is a major challenge. So there are many things that are a work in progress. There are other very important things like confirmation of other people who work for government, like the UHC staff. We had allocated some money before, but there is still some work to be done in terms of more allocation. And so that even those brothers and sisters can also have a chance to be compensated for the service they offer our country. And the other one, you've talked about public participation. I agree. Kenya is a robust country in terms of hearing your voice, but there is also work to be done in terms of incorporating all citizens, and especially in allocation of resources. There are things that I don't know whether there is a net to it. One of those things is public participation, because it's a continuous process which has to keep on improving, which has to keep on done better, because there is no perfection to it, but we can always polish it and do better about it. We can take another round. Leto.
Let me start. If you continued serving as the chair for budget, my name is Stephen Leto, Citizen TV. If you continued serving as the budget chair, will you allocate in the 2025-2026 financial year 72 billion shillings for chapati?
Let me take a few more. Yes, my brother. That cannot be answered alone.
My name is Daniel Sire from Daily Trends. What do you regret as a national leader in terms of what you were doing and the post that you were holding? And because you've spoken about what you achieved, what did you not achieve that you wanted to achieve?
Let me answer those two, because I want to be precise. Leto, I don't know where you got that math from, and I don't know whether you're asking about Keharu, because we do that in our day schools. We offer that in our day schools once a month. Is it a Keharu question or a national question?
Nairobi question.
Since I am not chair now, let me not hypothesize on what I would do if I was one now. But mulisikia hiyo swali ya Leto? Leto, you want to box me in a corner? I'll answer you that in camera. Because I also don't want to deflect from this. It's a good question, but I also don't want to wander so far. I'll give you that answer, Leto. And I'll also give you a calculator so that you do the right calculations. Daniel from Daily Trades. Any regrets? What we could have done better? As I said when I was answering Millicent, budget making as it is in management of leadership is always work in progress. There is no perfection to it. That's why even the most developed countries keep on having new leaders. Otherwise, they could have finished the work and say, sasa tumemaliza, there are no more leaders to be needed. So there is always it's always work in progress to reach where we are headed. He also asked about the regrets. What I believe myself is that I am the sum total of all my experiences, bad and good. And if I want to remove any bad experience from my CV, that is, as a human being, then I am deserting to be who I am. Therefore, very rarely will I have regrets. What I'll have are lessons to do things better. Not about only doing, to treat people better. And if at some point you feel that you've been wronged, I always believe it's an opportunity for you to know how to treat people better when you are at a vantage point. And therefore, no much regret. Yes, my brother.
My name is Mike from TV47. Now, kwa vile kuna masuala kadhaa umegusia pale kuhusiana na uhusiano wako na wakazi wako wa Kiharu, kwamba ulichaguliwa moja kwa moja kwa sababu haukuwa na vibango vile kuweka Kiharu. Vile vile ukasema kwamba hakuna yeyote aliyekupigia simu kuhusiana na kazi yako na uhusiano wako wa kikazi. Na labda uhusiano wako na Rais William Ruto umekuwa vipi hivi karibuni, na labda kabla ya kubanduliwa ofisini kwa aliyekuwa naibu rais, uhusiano wako na Rais William Ruto ni upi hadi kufikia sasa? Je, amesema na wewe muda wote ule? Umesema na aliyekuwa naibu rais popote kule? Na uhusiano wako vile vile na aliyekuwa naibu rais ni upi hadi kufikia sasa?
Mheshimiwa, swali langu ni jina langu ni Ronnie Regan kutoka idhaa ya Mwaredi.
Your name is?
Ronnie Regan.
Okay.
Swali langu kwako ni kuhusiana na utendakazi na uchapaji kazi wako katika eneo bunge la Kiharu. Binafsi tulitembea huko na tukafanya taarifa kuhusiana na kuimarisha elimu, na ndio maana tulipatia makala ya elimu bora na si bora elimu. Hivi sasa umeng'atuliwa na kuondolewa katika wadhifa ambao umekuwa unashikilia, na hizi tetesi ambazo zimekuwa zikisemekana na viongozi kwamba mgao wako ulielekezwa katika eneo bunge lako, kwa sasa hivi umeondolewa. Je, ujenzi wa shule utaendelea, madarasa yataendelea, kabla zitaendelea na wanafunzi wataendelea kula, au sasa bajeti vile vile itakuwa imefinywa, huna uwezo zaidi?
Okay. Kidogo tu, the reason you see me answering chache so that I don't also get lost. Let me answer the two very specifically. Mike, you asked about the relationship with our leaders. The position I held is a consultative position in terms of, before a decision is made, there has to be a lot of consultations. But as I said before, because I also don't want to discuss personalities today, the position or the answer I gave before, I think it answers many things. That I have not had any conversation directly or on phone with any leader of our coalition in regards to the position I used to hold. And I think if you look at it, it answers many things also, which I also don't want to go into. In terms of the relationship with other leaders, I respect everyone. I mean, I'm one of those people who believe there's no person who becomes a leader by just being fetched from wherever. There is always a process they go through. Because I am one, I know. And therefore, in terms of, you've asked the relationship between the president and the former deputy president, the position I hold is that I respect every leader. And I could have things I need to talk about I could have reservations on decisions made, but I don't think it has been within my role to talk about those things, especially in public. The other thing in that question is that maybe for clarity's sake, the last discussion I had with the president of the country, the last political discussion, either a chat or a discussion, as it were, was before October of last year. And I would not want, and you permit me to do that, not to discuss any further about any leader, because as you're all aware, I stopped serving in my position. It's barely a week. I also need to understand many things before I talk, because I believe as a leader, I mean, I lead people. There are people who look up to us as leaders. And therefore, even when you see that I am not answering some questions, it's not because I can't answer them. I believe you have covered me previously, and you know for sure that, respectively, in this world I only fear God. So whatever I need to say, I have no reservation of saying. But also, we are given wisdom to say when to say, how to say it. And I believe we are here in Kenya. We'll keep interacting. If there is more to be said, if there is more to be clarified, we are around. Ronnie, he has been to Kiharu, by the way, to cover achana nayo. Hoja hii maji ya dimu kidogo ndio. Yo mkiuliza swali kwa ikuwe sawa. Ronnie, you've been to Kiharu, and I am grateful. And by the way, I want to request anyone who would want to come to Kiharu to look at what you've been doing. We are more than glad to host you. We don't do these things, especially of hosting people, because we want to blow our own trumpet. We do these things because I am convinced that if leaders started competing on the basis of what they are doing, the country would become better wholesomely. If our competition as leaders is deliverables, and we compete about who is doing what in terms of tangibles and development, is a very good discussion that you would have as MPs, for example, because we hold CDF, and that is the reason why we would be glad even to host you. We have hosted, I think, 4 delegations of my colleagues in Kiharu on benchmarking exercises. We actually don't call them benchmarking. We call them peer-to-peer learning, because I also learn from them. I am not a non-knowing, and I also learn from my colleagues a great deal. And in terms of, like the video you see around, me wearing some goldish shirt, I'm sure you have seen it. That was on 4th of January last year. It is not a recent video. And we have been doing those things primarily because I think at some point I was not doing the right thing, and at some point I learned. And therefore I feel that if I share my experiences with anyone, and I also learn from them, the management of public resources becomes better. If Kiharu improves, any other Mvita improves, if Ebakasi East improves, if any other constituency improves, then Kenya holistically becomes a better place. And I want to underline, the leaders who come to Kiharu, they don't come to learn because I am all-knowing and I know everything. I also learn from them. And that is why I also go to their constituencies to learn what they do. And I also know majority are trying their best. Specifically to answer you now, is that the projects you saw in Kiharu, majority of it that we have done in our learning institutions, I actually did in my first term. In my first term, I was a member of a committee called Regional Integration. I think I have answered you. So, I'll still call you next year. I hope we'll still be doing better, hopefully. Yes.
Majibu Kisao from K24. Kuna swali mwenzangu alikuwa ameuliza kwa kifupi tu kuhusiana na wale wabunge ambao walikuwa wanakukejeli kwa labda kujilimbikizia pesa kuwatumikia wakazi wa Kiharu. Labda utawaambia nini? Tena niuliza alivyouliza, alafu waibie siri kwa sababu si mara moja si mara mbili umeteuliwa kama mbunge bora.
Okay. Yes, my brother.
Mheshimiwa, I know you are doing campaign during at 2022 and you have given Kenyan a lot of promise. For the now,
Your name, Andy?
Aden Ibrahim from KBC. For now, for the 2.5 years now we are there, where do you rate in terms of development across the country? Because you are sharing that that committee. In that terms of development, and you know the promise that you have given Kenya, where do you rate this administration in the last 2.5 years? Have they achieved their goal? Have they achieved their promise in the last 2 years?
Okay.
Where do you rate?
Okay. Let me answer those two. I'll now try to be brief. One, my brother, your name? Majibu. Maswali yani anauliza swali. Majibu, my brother from K24.
Yes.
You've asked about Kiharu. I am always available to share our experiences in Kiharu. More than available. I mean, I have had sessions with my colleagues and I have explained to them basically what we do is optimization, labor-based implementation of projects. It saves us the profit that would have been made by the contractor. It also saves us a lot of cost. It guarantees quality also. And because it's something that needs a lot of time to explain, I am sure I'll give you some time. And yes, ameuliza pia wale wabunge walisema mambo bugeni last week, nitasema nini? Nitasema, uniruhusu niseme kwa kimombo. As I said before, politics is up and downs. And politics is mutually exclusive. Because the things we chase for are the same. So sometimes, for a position to be created, one person has to forgo the years. And therefore, it's always a chase. So, you also have to define yourself as a leader, the things you want to engage in. And respectively, as I say so, if I ask you as my brothers and sisters who are here, I ask you what Kibaki told anyone in the year 2008 when he was president, you'd hardly remember. You'd have to go to your files to check what Kibaki said. But if you travel through or on Thika Road Superhighway, you don't need to remember anything Kibaki said. You see it with your own eyes. So me, I believe that, yes, we have to talk as leaders because you have to explain where you are going, where you've come from. I mean, you cannot lock yourself in a room. You have to talk. But in many instances, I find that what is far-reaching and what is permanent and what is objective is more what you do than what you say. And therefore, in terms of what was said and whoever said it last week in Parliament, I would not be provoked to answer evil with evil, neither will I be provoked to answer an insult with insult. Time answers many things. Time answers so many things. I mean, if I allege, for example, if I come here and allege Kajim here is actually not from Kenya, and I say, no, I have evidence, he's actually not from Kenya. Only time. He may not need to say much. The truth and the facts have a way of outliving words. And I hold no grudge against anyone. It is too it is too burdensome to carry any hatred. It is too heavy to carry any ill will against anyone. I mean, you can only do that to the advantage of the people who calculate to make you wander from your path. Oh, sorry, Aden, and I think I'm taking too long to answer questions. Aden, allow me today, you've asked me to rate the government. You know I've been chairman of budget. Definitely, I am likely to be subjective. In terms of rating of government, allow me not to answer that now because I just left this position barely a week from today. I am likely to be subjective, but I think as leaders from wherever we are, from MCA level to what I hold to every other level, there is always work to be done. And from my corner, hopefully I'll do my best to chip in into that development so that entirely the country becomes better. But I also know, Aden, that, just like all of you, I am a Kenyan, I live here, so I see what there is. So, so Kenyans are better judges than ourselves as leaders. Yes.
The last one is, what's your take on the pollution agreement?
Your name is?
My name is Jeff from Liberation 254.
Jeff?
Jeff Zilla, Liberation 254.
Okay.
What's your take on the agreement between the opposition, Raila Odinga, and the president? Will this agreement solve the issue of the Gen Zs? Because the other time Gen Zs went to the streets and they wanted some support from the government. Will this help? Will this agreement help the Gen Zs?
Jeff, I think, but respectively though, usinibebe vibaya, those are the areas that I don't want to go today because I don't want to distort the message for today. And since I'm around, Jeff, I'll give you audience. You know now I'm not as busy as I used to do or to be.
Maybe the last one on budget.
Yes.
Given the role you played in the last election.
Your name?
I am from Tuko.
Okay.
Given the role you played in the last election, resulted in you being given that position. Now that you have been removed without even being informed by the leadership of Kenya, you feel betrayed by the leadership?
Thank you very much, Aemba. Yours is hapo katikati because it's both political but budget based. So that one I have to say something about. Kaemba, I am a human being. So when you see us politicians, we are also people. And it is inherently human to have temporal disappointment sometime. And not disappointment of losing a position, but disappointments of what brings together political friendships. So to be honest, I think that answer suffices.
So maybe the last one now.
Yeah.
We've seen leaders when after the impeachment they consult. Raila Odinga was also moving around the country to consult after he failed in the AUC. Are we also going to see Ndindi Nyoro consulting also?
Stephen Leto, I have been busy as a politician, but I have also enjoyed a phase of quietness. I mean, you know that. When you are in the dance floor, politically speaking, you can't know even when it is raining outside, when the wind is blowing. You can't know when there is a storm. When you are in the dance floor, there is loud music and you are busy. This is an experience I've shared actually, Reto, with some of my colleagues. That sometimes as a leader, it is also important that you depart the dance floor temporarily, you go to the balcony, and also you learn. Learning may not mean you are consulting to outdo anyone. Learning may actually mean the dancing styles changed, but we are still fixed on the past ones. Learning may actually also not come by political conversations. It may come with just social interactions. So my answering to that, Leto, is that what I am certain of is that I have more time than previously. And I will pray that I make good use of that time. And especially to be also a leader who is in tandem with the expectations of the people of Kenya. Any